Welcome to The American Story. Stories about all the things that make America the country we know and love. Thank you for subscribing to the American Story podcast on your favorite podcast app, leaving a 5-star review on that app, and sharing these stories with family, friends, and neighbors. Thanks to you, we are reaching more listeners every week. This is Chris Flannery with the Claremont Institute. I call this one, For Such a Time as This. I had some time on my hands, and before I knew it, I had time on my mind, and it occurred to me that time works in mysterious ways. Everyone knows there are good times and bad times, but how do things get this way? It's a mystery that has kept the greatest minds scratching their heads since the beginning of time. Time flies, marches on, and sometimes just stands still. You can buy time, be on borrowed time, or run out of time. But there's a first time for everything, and the third time's the charm. Some modern scientists say time is an illusion. But try selling that jam to the reveler who's just starting to let the good times roll when the local authority announces it's closing time. Or the fellow who feels like his time has come, but the girl of his dreams won't give him the time of day. If you're an optimist, you console yourself with the reflection that time is on your side. But don't count on it. Somehow all times are the best of times and the worst of times. Just when you feel like you're having the time of your life, a folk singer comes along to tell you the times they are a-changin', and you'd better keep up with the times, or hard times are coming. Maybe the end times. There's the nick of time, the perfect time, half time, and thanks to Shakespeare, the whirligig of time. Whatever is going on where you find yourself, somewhere someone is having a hot time in the old town tonight. We all hope our convictions, cars, home appliances, and friendships will stand the test of time, but only time will tell. You can keep time, kill time, blow time, or have a whale of a time, but you want to be ready when the time is ripe. You can be full-time, part-time, or working overtime, but you know your boss is not starting a philosophical conversation when he tells you it's about time. Time is so capacious that, as the good book reminds us, there's a time to every purpose under heaven. And this is the thought that took me back in time to 1788, when the young James Madison was working hard to persuade his fellow Americans to approve the newly drafted Constitution of which he would become known as the Father. He tells us of his own reflections on time. Reverence for the Constitution, he thought, would be a necessary condition of the Constitution's enduring. But the passage of time would be a necessary condition of such reverence. Ancient laws may be revered. Brand new laws can only aspire to reverence. An infant can be loved and cherished, even wondered at, but only with the ripeness of years can a man or a law be revered. Just a couple of generations later, the even younger Abraham Lincoln reflected on a different effect of the passage of time. 50 years had passed since the Great American Revolution. The scenes of the Revolution, which inspired in the hearts of the revolutionary generation complete devotion to the American cause, had faded from the memory of the world, and their influence had faded with the memory. Those who had fought and bled with Washington could feel to the bottom of their souls the significance of what they were fighting for. Mothers, wives, and daughters of the Revolution had sons, husbands, brothers, and fathers who had fought and died for the cause. They felt their destiny inseparably linked to the living histories of the great American experiment. Those living histories, Lincoln thought, were the pillars of the Temple of Liberty. But in his time, those living histories were dead, killed by the silent artillery of time. And now, he said, that they have crumpled away. The temple must fall, unless we, their descendants, supply their places with other pillars, hewn from the solid quarry of sober reason. Lincoln agreed with Madison that reverence is absolutely necessary if the Constitution is to endure. But reason must come to the aid of time, or even overcome the effects of time, to supply that reverence. Fourscore and several years after Lincoln recorded these thoughts, President Calvin Coolidge commemorated the 150th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence with his own reflections on time. About the Declaration, he wrote, "There is a finality that is exceedingly restful. It is often asserted that the world has made a great deal of progress since 1776, that we have had new thoughts and new experiences which have given us a great advance over the people of that day, and that we may therefore very well discard their conclusions for something more modern. But that reasoning cannot be applied to this great charter. If all men are created equal, that is final. If they are endowed with inalienable rights, that is final. If governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, that is final. No advance, no progress can be made beyond these propositions. If anyone wishes to deny their truth or their soundness, the only direction in which he can proceed historically is not forward, but backward, toward the time when there was no equality, no rights of the individual, no rule of the people. Those who wish to proceed in that direction cannot lay claim to progress. They are reactionary." Coolidge was right, and the truth he told is both timeless and timely. We can all see in these strange days that time, with thanks again to Mr. Shakespeare, is out of joint. But Madison and Lincoln would join Silent Cal in reminding us, to take a famous line from the great American movie Casablanca, that the fundamental things apply as time goes by. Thanks for being part of the American Story. This is Chris Flannery with the Claremont Institute. I encourage you to visit our website, theamericanstorypodcast.org, to learn more about these stories and how you might support them. That's theamericanstorypodcast.org.